Welcome to Pixarize's scene for vitamin B6 or pyridoxine, part of our series on the vitamins. This is a scene of piety and peril centered around a bee cult and their efforts to spread their church's backwards doctrine. There's no time to waste, so let's get going. Right off the bat, you'll notice that this scene is chock full of bees, and they're building some impressive edifices. That's part of what this cult of bees believes in. Their prophet has told them that they must build pyramid-shaped shrines around the world using only sticks. And sure, when you say it out loud, it sounds pretty dumb, but when you think about it a little more, no, it still sounds stupid. But whatever, it's what these bees are all about. These bees stacking sticks should help us remember that this scene is centered around vitamin B6, or bee sticks. And their pyramid shape should jog our memory for B6's other name, pyridoxine. Now that we've established the foundational ideology of the bees' stick cult, let's zoom in on the prophet himself. We'll call him L. Ron Buzzard, or Moses, Paul the Owaspel, Nectardamus, Abrahive. I'll stop now, I promise. Alright, the bee prophet is standing at his pulpit, prophesizing, sermonizing, and working to convert the masses. He's standing at his pulpit to help us remember that vitamin B6 is converted to PLP, or pyridoxal phosphate. PLP acts as a cofactor in a number of important reactions, including glycogenolysis and several decarboxylation and transamination reactions, and we'll cover each of these separately. First up is glycogen phosphorylase. Check out what the prophet at the PLP pulpit is doing. That's right, he's cutting individual sugar packets from a larger roll. His worker bees are way too busy to be collecting nectar and storing honey, so he's decided to ration out individual sugar packets so they can focus on the ultimate mission, making more pyridoxine pyramids. Our prophet cutting off the individual sugar packets should remind us that PLP is a cofactor for the glycogen phosphorylase enzyme, which catalyzes the rate-limiting step in glycogenolysis, the process of releasing individual glucose molecules from larger glycogen chains. Glycogen phosphorylase is the defective enzyme in McArdle disease, or type 5 glycogen storage disease, and to learn more about that, head on over to Pixarize's glycogen storage disease playlist. Now turn your attention to the empty cardboard box next to the pulpit. Ah, that must be where our bee prophet gets his sugar packets. The cardboard box is our symbol for carboxylation reactions, and you'll notice that this one is tattered and worn to help us remember decarboxylation reactions. These reactions involving PLP are numerous and varied, and it's low yield for step 1 to remember all of them, so we won't waste your time listing them. Just keep our broken cardboard box in your mind to remember that PLP is a cofactor in a number of decarboxylase reactions. Next, look beyond our decarboxylase cardboard box at the train hauling new sticks to the construction site. Notice that's not all the train is carrying. Yep, it's carrying some heavy-duty ammunition. It's one thing to peacefully build pyridoxine pyramids, but it gets a bit more nefarious when you introduce automatic weapons into the mix. Most things do. The train full of ammunition should help us remember transamination, and PLP's involvement as a cofactor in transamination reactions. These reactions are pretty varied as well, but two to remember are the transamination reactions catalyzed by ALT and AST. These enzymes link amino acid and urea metabolism, and measuring their activity is important when probing for liver dysfunction. Now, let's turn our attention to the center of the image where the hero trying to stop this violent pseudo-religious sect of bees has been captured. Oh no. This area of the image will cover the many synthesis reactions for which PLP is a required cofactor. Let's start with our hero. If you've been following our other scenes, you may recognize He-Man as our recurring symbol for heme. He's here in this image to thwart the psychotic prophet, but he's been captured. It looks like the bees are trying to brainwash him and synthesize more He-Mans to make an unstoppable army. The bees trying to synthesize more hemen will remind us that PLP is required for heme synthesis. Now check out that brainwave transmitter helmet his captors have forced on him. Judging by the dopey look on his face, it seems to be doing its job. This brainwashing brainwave or neurotransmitting helmet is here to help us remember that PLP is required for the synthesis of a number of neurotransmitters. These include serotonin, epinephrine, norepinephrine, dopamine, and GABA. Finally, check the stinger stuck in our hapless He-Man's thigh. Looks like a cyst is forming around it. A cyst to represent cystathionine, an intermediate in the cysteine biosynthesis pathway, and yet another molecule that needs pyrimid pyridoxine and pulpit PLP to be synthesized. Next, look to the right of He-Man. He's being held at knife point. Seems unnecessary given the mind control, but better safe than sorry, I suppose. The knife is our symbol for niacin, or vitamin B3. We've got a whole scene devoted to niacin knives, so for now just remember that vitamin B6 is required to synthesize niacin. Okay, now look at the bee to the left of He-Man. This guy's got quite the tome. It looks like a history book. I guess he's looking to see if there's been any recorded instance of successful hero cloning throughout history. Let's hope he comes up empty. This guy's history book is there to represent histamine, the last molecule that requires B6 to be synthesized that we need to remember. There were quite a few of them, so give yourself a pat on the back for getting through them all. If you were wearing a mind control neurotransmitter helmet, I could probably force you to pat yourself on the back. Oh well. Alright, we're done with the functions of vitamin B6, and we can move on to vitamin B6 deficiency. See that pyramid being destroyed by a mysterious newcomer? This area of the image where our pyridoxine pyramids are being destroyed will be where we'll cover all the clinical findings in a pyridoxine deficiency. So who's this guy storming in? Like, literally storming. Check out those clouds and lightning he's brought with him. Well, he's made of ice, and he's wielding a sword and shield. I guess that makes him the Ice Knight. The Ice Knight is our symbol for isoniazid, a drug used to treat tuberculosis. The Ice Knight is here to save He-Man and to remind us that isoniazid can induce vitamin B6 deficiency, since the drug competes for B6 binding sites. Oral contraceptives are another inducer of vitamin B6 deficiency, and we've represented this with our isoniazid Ice Knight's oral contraceptive mouth guard. Not sure why he only needs to protect his mouth. Maybe it's like an Achilles heel thing, or maybe he's got an ice jaw. You know, like a glass jaw. Yeah, never mind. Just remember that the mouth guard represents oral contraceptive-induced B6 deficiency, okay? Leave me and my horrible jokes alone. Okay, we're almost there. We just need to talk about the clinical findings in a vitamin B6 deficiency. Remember those storm clouds I mentioned before? Well, these lightning strikes are actually here to represent peripheral neuropathy, in addition to adding a menacing touch to our angry Ice Knight. And did you see how quickly he's shaking that sword to destroy the stick pyramids? That's to represent the convulsions that patients with a vitamin B6 deficiency can experience. Finally, I bet you noticed that he's not carrying a normal shield. It has a very distinctive shape and pattern. Some might describe that pattern as that of a ringed sideroblast. Okay, no one except nerdy medical students would ever describe something as a ringed sideroblast, but that's what it's there to represent. B6 deficiency can manifest as a sideroblastic anemia, since, like we discussed with our captured He-Man, heme synthesis requires vitamin B6. Specifically, it is the aminolevulonate synthase enzyme, or ALA synthase, that requires B6 to catalyze the early steps of heme synthesis. Sideroblastic anemias are microcytic anemias with ringed sideroblasts in the bone marrow. These cells have an organized granulocytic ring structure and resemble our knight's shield. Alright, we made it. This scene was a doozy, and there were a lot of details to remember, so I suggest you go through it a few times to nail down everything about vitamin B6. Though hopefully you don't spend so much time with the bee prophet that you start building stick pyramids in your backyard. Your friends will start to worry. Until next time.